Hi, this is TrainSignal's Brian Green, and in this short demonstration, I'm going to show you how to convert the lesson files from your DVD to M4V files that you can play on your iPad. Now, before we get started, I just want to point out that there are third-party applications that you can purchase from the iTunes App Store that will allow you to play TrainSignal lessons on your iPad without converting the file. However, in my experience, you get the best playback quality if you convert the files before loading them into iTunes. Plus, with the tool that we'll be using, we are going to convert the files using the H.264 codec and AAC audio, and we'll also be optimizing the aspect ratio for playback on the iPad display. So we're going to be following the best practices that Apple lays out for encoding video for your iPad. The tool that we're going to use is Handbrake, and I have it here downloaded on my machine. Like I said, it is an open source GPL licensed video transcoding software, and it is available for download from handbrake.fr, that is their website. To download, you just simply go to the download link, and as you can see, it is multi-platform. There is support for just about every operating system imaginable, plus there's actually a command line interface. Since I already have it downloaded to my machine, I'll just minimize this window. Now, before we get started with Handbrake, one tip that I want to offer you is make a local copy of the video files on your hard drive rather than converting straight from the DVD media. That will make your encoding process move just a little bit faster. And this is especially true if you're converting a course that has 30, maybe 40 lessons in it. You can see I've done that with the Advanced SQL 2008 course, created this directory on my desktop, and I have it open here. And I've actually loaded the first disk down into this folder. Now I'll go ahead and show you where you can find the video files on your DVD. And I have Windows Explorer open to my computer. And I have the Advanced SQL 2008 Database Administration Training course loaded into my DVD ROM drive. And note that it's the videos disk, not the additional content disk. What we're looking for is the AVI files. And once you've loaded it into the DVD drive, we want to navigate to the folder structure, not the menu. So I'm in Vista. I will right-click and choose Explore. And this is the DVD file structure. And these video folders, and you may see them marked Lesson, Lesson 01, Lesson 02, Lesson and Video are interchangeable. To locate the video files, you drill down into Video 01, and there's a media folder, a video numbers media folder. And inside there, you'll see we have a video clip. This is our AVI file, and it should be named Video 01 or Lesson 01. And you'll just drag and drop that to whatever directory you set up for that course. And once you have all the files copied down to the local directory, you're ready to get started with Handbrake. So I'll go ahead and minimize this window and launch Handbrake. And this is the Handbrake application window. And you can see at the top, here we have a row of buttons, and these have some of the main functions that we'll be using, such as the source to choose our source file. You can start an individual encoding process, or you can add it to a queue. You can view your current queue if you have jobs added to the queue. You can actually render a short preview. And then the activity window we're not really going to worry about, but it actually logs jobs that are in progress or the last completed encodes that you did. On the right side, we have presets, and these are the default presets that come with the Handbrake download. You can also create your own, and you can set a default so that when you launch Handbrake, instead of the normal preset, it will be set to whatever you want your default to be. It's not a bad idea. We will be using the iPad preset to go ahead and choose that and set that as your default. And down on the bottom half of the screen is where you can configure your output settings. And you can get very granular and have a lot of control over your final video output, your bit rates, your container, etc. But we're not going to worry about that too much in this demonstration. We're just going to actually go with the iPad preset. And as you'll see, the defaults will be good for our purposes. So to get started, we'll choose Source, and you'll see we have the option for video file, folder, and title specific scan. We don't have to scan the master. The way that TrainSignal courses are mastered, this actually will not work. And folder, I actually in the past had a problem when I tried to use this folder function and pull up all the sources. Handbrake for some reason did not index all of the files properly. So I just like to stick to video files and do them one at a time. And you can see it opened up my desktop Advanced SQL 2008 folder. So we'll choose our first file, video01. And you see it processed just for a second and now has video01 loaded up as the source. Gives you the information of the runtime there. We'll actually go ahead and choose the iPad preset. We have the option here to set the destination where the encoded file will be saved. So we can browse to our folder structure, and it automatically pulled up where our source footage is coming from. And that'll be fine for our purposes. So we'll just give it the name video01 and save it. And you can see it does have the file container .m4v, which is compatible with the iPad. Like I mentioned earlier, we're not going to worry about the advanced settings down here because we are using the preset. One thing that we will change is we don't need to enable large file size. None of our files are going to be MP4 files over 4 GB. You'll actually see they'll be quite small, so we'll uncheck this. And I'm not sure that tooltip also says that it will likely break device compatibility with all but the Apple TV Take 2. I'm not sure if that's the case because I've left that checked and encoded and haven't run into the problem with iPad compatibility. But for our purposes, we'll just trust it. We'll uncheck that because we're not going to have any files over 4 gig, and we'll just move on. Like I said, the defaults will be fine here. The picture size is going to maximize the size for display on the iPad. On the video tab, you can check the codec and also the frame rate. And 30 frames per second is the recommended best practice for the iPad device, as is the H.264 codec. We'll also leave constant quality to the default. Over on the audio tab, you can see the codec is AAC audio, and the bitrate is 160 kilobits per second. Again, those are default properties, and we'll leave those alone. We don't have any subtitles or chapters or advanced features. We're not going to change anything here, but it's nice to know that there are a lot of different settings that you can configure on your video files. We also skipped over the video filters. Again, not going to worry about those. So we're ready to add this job to our queue. And it popped up our encode queue. And you can see our source and destination are listed here, as are the codecs that will be used. And you can always just expand these fields in order to double check that everything's okay, that your source files and your destinations are named properly. And there's also the functionality to tell Handbrake what to do whenever it finishes the queue. We'll minimize this for right now and move on to source number 2. So we'll choose source video file, choose video02, and it remembers our destination, but it also remembers the name that we gave to the last file. So we'll need to change that to video02. It remembers all of our settings because, again, we're taking all the defaults. So we'll add this job to the queue. And you can see it did not pop up since we minimized the encode queue, but it does give you this little tip down at the bottom that now you have 2 encodes pending in the queue. And you can always maximize and make sure that your source did populate and your job did populate to the queue. Minimize this. And we'll choose our third video file. We'll change the name and add it to our queue. Now we have 3 encodes pending in the queue. As you can see from our source, it's video 01, 02, 03, and our naming is correct as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of the jobs to the queue, but I'm going to pause the video and skip ahead, and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and as you can see, our encode queue is full. We have video 1 through video 11 in our queue. So once you have your queue populated with all of your jobs, you just click the green button to start the encode. And you get status information here about which job is running. You have your source, destination, and what the codec is. And it also gives you a running status update here and an estimated time remaining. So while this runs, I'm just going to pause the video and we'll meet up whenever it's done. And we're back, and as you can see, our queue is now empty because all of the jobs have run. So we'll go ahead and we'll close this. And we'll minimize Handbrake. And now inside of our Advanced SQL 2008 folder, I'll maximize this. You can see we have our MPEG-4 files here. And one thing I want to show you is look at the file size of our AVIs versus the MPEG-4s. These are tiny in comparison to the AVIs. So our compression rate is very, very strong. We can fit a lot of these MPEG-4 files onto the iPad, whereas we'd be kind of limited with how many AVIs we could add. So now I'm ready to put these files on my iPad. So I'll restore this window, move it to the side a little bit, and I have iTunes open here. And I'm ready to load these lessons into my movies. So I'll just select all of the MPEG-4s, drag them into my library. It'll just take a second to process. Very good. And now I'll just go over to my iPad and over to the movies section. And we're going to sync movies, and since those 11 lessons are the only movies in my library, I'll leave this checked to automatically include all movies. I'll just uncheck it to show that these 11 will be coming with the sync. And I'll go ahead and press the button to sync. This will take just a minute. And the sync is now complete, and as it says, it's okay to disconnect. So I'm just about ready to get started watching some training. That's all there is to the process of converting the files for playback on your iPad. Now, let me open up this window one more time and show you the whole encoding process took about 1 hour and 15 minutes for that disk. So that's not bad. The time will fluctuate depending on how fast your processor is. Well, that wraps up this demonstration. I hope it was helpful for you. Thanks for watching.